These rocky shores where I call home, where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, it's these rocky shores, it's where I long to be. Yes, it's these rocky shores, they are home to me.
Whenever I leave here, it hurts me so, with tears in my eyes, why did you go? There ain't no work, and the kids need new clothes, the bills need paying, so off I must go.
These rocky shores where I call home, where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, yes, these rocky shores is where I long to be. Yes, these rocky shores, they're home to me.
Where did it all go? The life I once had on the ocean's gentle road. With tears in my eyes and my head in my hands, away from my family, I hope they understand.
That is these rocky shores where I call home, that's where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, yes, these rocky shores where I long to be. Yes, these rocky shores, they are home to me. Yes, these rocky shores, they are home to me.
Good evening and welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include FFAW Union held an important meeting on Monday. The BDDB held its annual meeting. We spoke to the St. John's Central High Storms. These stories plus community events, the BBS Playbill, Off the Rack and more coming up after this.
In celebration of the Trans-Canada Trail, the longest trail relay in the world will take place in the year 2000. Water from the three oceans will be relayed to a Trans-Canada Trail fountain in our national capital region. Be part of this great relay. Call now. Get your application to become an official relay carrier. The Trans-Canada Trail Relay 2000. Go for it. Apply now and make history.
On Monday of this week, the FFAW held a very important union meeting at the community centre. We got a chance to speak with Edith Anderson, president of the local branch of the union, and Mr. David Dicker, staff representative of the FFAW. Mr. Dicker, can you tell us what the main issues of your union meeting was today?
Well, the main issues were seniority and the settlement of the outstanding issues with regards to wages and what we were prepared to settle on that account.
Okay, so was your issue of wages, was that settled?
Well, from our perspective, I guess it was settled. We went into negotiations with the company the last time, last of August. Since that time, we've had numerous discussions with the company. Our former proposal that we put to the company was that we would be prepared to accept their last offer of $9 per hour, okay, to start this year. that, and we see that as a starting point because of the issues with training and the non-skilled workforce and having to train. The issue that this being a new plant starting off and obviously new equipment, but that we wanted to make progress over the next couple of years of that contract. So I guess the issue is just that we're at odds here is over interpretation of a contract that we already have in place. So I want to be clear, we already have a contract in place till November 14th, 2001. So what we've agreed to, we didn't have an answer from the company prior to coming in this meeting, whether that would be acceptable. What we've agreed here today is that we would start this year for $9, that if the company is prepared to negotiate, then we're prepared to sit down and negotiate then for next year, okay, to see if we can find settlement. I think there's a lot of common ground there, and I know our discussions over the last few days have been very positive, and I think there is room for a settlement. But barring that, we have the right under our contract to arbitrate because we have a difference of opinion there in reading and interpretation of this contract. We have the right to arbitrate, and we reserve that right to arbitrate. So we have until now, until the time that the plant operates, to sort of commence discussions with regard to resolving that issue. If we don't resolve that issue when the plant starts, then we will file grievances under our contract and choose to settle that by arbitration. But again, the door is always open. We're prepared to negotiate, and we're hoping that the company will come back to us with regards to trying to see where we go for the year 2000 and 2001.
Okay, what about your seniority issue now? Was that settled today as well?
Yes, that was settled today. We took a long look at this. We understand that this could have been a very divisive issue, I guess, when in terms of your seniority, meaning who comes back to work and in what order. What we did is we had one of the vice presidents of the union to come into town and basically take a good look at this, talk to the committee, talk to various people who were involved at the time. We went down to the contract and the wording of the contract, and we put our interpretation on that. We've used that now and did a vote here today based on our recommendations, where both, not only the majority of the membership, but the majority of the day shift and the majority of the night shift voted in favor of. So right now we will go over in a few minutes and present that one seniority list. From now on we will have one seniority list, and we will present that to the company.
The votes that you took today, now were they secret ballot or were they show of hands?
We did a number of issues where we had show of hands, but the two ones that I just outlined, both the one on the wage package, the contract, and the one on the seniority were both secret ballot.
So, in other words, when the crab boats come in, that the Burgeo fish plant workers will be going back to work starting $9 per hour.
Just waiting for a call from the company, and when the company calls, the workers will be ready to go.
Very good. Edie, how many people will be working per shift?
Well, I talked to Clayton. Clayton had told me anywhere from 80 to 100, but that's going to be depending on, the time the boat goes out, the weather, because like everybody knows about the weather, so depending on the weather, and we could have 80 to 100 on a shift, there will be two shifts, looks like.
That's an important factor, what Edie is talking about also, the weather, because we know it's late. We know what the weather has been over the past 3 to 4 weeks, very difficult. We got another hurricane now coming up the eastern seaboard. I understand from the company today that, we're not expecting boats to sail this week, okay? And as soon as the weather clears, it looks like they'll need about a 5-day window, that's the fishermen, in order to look at a time frame when they can realistically go out and fish, because they have to do experimental work first before they do their fishing for their trip. Also, I guess, in terms of how much crab is available, there was about 58 boats, I think, that elected to take the 35,000 option, which lands on the south coast. So that would mean about 1.8 million from these boats. And it looks like the offshore group, Chesses, which is Vice President of the Union, his group, they have about 250,000 pounds of crab, of which they will be landing here in Burgeo.
The ratifications that you did to your contract, now most of the contract that's in Burgeo is for groundfish and other species. Now crab has never been done in Burgeo, so is that some of the work that you're doing on with the contract is to include crab in the contract?
Yes, that's the major issue now. We have, as I said, a 5-year contract in place which expires on November 2001. The issue is in that contract, crab was not specifically mentioned. We had for groundfish, commercial groundfish species, we had things like underutilized species like Argentine, which was obviously the talk. People will remember that one here for sure, and the wage rate for that. And we also included things like pelagics and wage rates for that. But specifically crab was never addressed. And the issue, I guess, between us now is where should crab fit in terms of that various ranges.
Well, we thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you very much.
The Burgeo Diversification Development Board held its annual meeting on Monday of this week. The guest speaker was our MHA, Calvin Parsons.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, John. Mr. Chairman, board members, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your invitation to your annual meeting and to be your guest speaker. To begin, I'd like to quote a little poem from Lady Wilson. "Twixt optimist and pessimist, the difference is quite droll. The optimist the donut sees, the pessimist the whole." I've entitled my talk The Optimist Prayer, not because I feel we need any divine intervention to survive and thrive, whether it be in the town of Burgeo specifically, in rural Newfoundland particularly, or Newfoundland and Labrador generally, but because I'm an optimist by nature and always hope for and strive for the best results. The Burgeo Diversification and Development Board sprang out of the old Industrial Adjustment Services Program in the fall of 1997. Its name is very descriptive and reveals the hopes and aspirations of the board members. That is, you want diversification and you want development for your town. Let's look for a second at where we came from, because if we don't have an appreciation on where we came and what we have accomplished to date, we stand little chance of future advancement. Burgeo has always been a town bound to the sea. The local economy was always based upon the sea. Your social development followed an east-west pattern along the south coast. All political connections and boundaries have traditionally followed an east-west pattern along the south coast. Culturally, families and friends intermarried and developed on an east-west pattern along the south coast. The construction of the Burgeo Highway in the 70s and its completion and paving in the 1980s forever changed how Burgeo would develop and be perceived. The economic, social, political, and cultural elements which make a town were no longer exclusively bound in that east-west, south coast direction, but shot out along a northern trail. With the highway came access, outside shopping and entertaining activities, a north-south link to places like Stephenville and Cornerville. With the 1990s came the zonal boards, and Burgeo's economic and development future became more attached to the long-range zonal board with its base camp at Stephenville. The Calder Health Care Center became associated with the Western Regional Health Corp with its base camp at Corner Brook. Our manpower and HRDC becomes an appendage of Stephenville, and our schools administered by Stephenville. For a town that had been very prosperous and stable for many, many decades, these tremendous changes of the 80s and 90s required extensive adjustments and adaptation. To further complicate matters, the 1990s was a decade of economic upheaval. The economies of Canada and the United States stumbled. We experienced the collapse of the groundfish industry in Newfoundland. Downsizing became a euphemism for layoffs and unemployment. Government deficits soared and tax increases were rampant. Out-migration was an inevitable result. The collapse of the groundfish industry was particularly devastating to rural Newfoundland. In 1990, there were over 300 active fish plants in this province. Today, there are 127. The moratorium of 1992 obliterated the workforce in our fishing industry. And although words like tags and fram became part of our everyday speech, those programs could not replace the self-worth and confidence taken from a proud people. Some may dwell on fault still, but whether it was mismanagement or greed, it happened. That's where we were. Now, where are we headed? There are very visible signs of recovery in the fishing industry. For example, in 1998, the fishing industry had the greatest production value in its history of over $750 million, and that figure is expected to exceed $800 million this year. There's been a 25% increase in the value of our aquaculture industry from 98 to 99, 1 year. The nature of our catch has changed drastically. In 1990, 80% of the groundfish industry, or the fishing industry, came from groundfish, and 20% from shellfish. While in 1998, those figures were reversed, with 80% coming from shellfish and 20% from groundfish. Although the restoration appears well in hand, as Fisheries Minister John Everett stated recently, we must be careful and not do to the shellfish what we did to the groundfish. We must properly manage, develop, and exploit the resource to ensure sustainability. And once caught, we must guarantee quality from the trap to the table. In addition to the rejuvenated and diversified fishery, there are other positive signs within our provincial economy. Our gross domestic product, which is the value of all goods and services produced by our economy, rose by 4.4% in 98, the strongest provincial growth rate in the country. Our employment figures are up by 16,000 full-time jobs since 1997. The value of our retail sales increased by 6.3 in the first 5 months of this year, compared to 3.8 in the rest of the country. Our exports from this province reached an all-time high of $5.5 billion in 1998, a doubling since 1992. Our agriculture industry is evolving. Our manufacturing industry is growing. We have a dynamic information technology industry. Did anyone realize that we in Newfoundland today have 200 information technology firms with 4,000 IT professionals generating $600 million in sales per year? Our petroleum industry is maturing, with Hibernia in production, and Terra Nova, White Rose, and Ben Nevis proceeding to development. Our mining industry is strong, and our forest industry is strong. Our agri-foods industry, farming in Newfoundland, believe it or not, is valued at $500 million this year, and 4,000 people were employed in agri-foods in 1998. And then there is tourism. Since 1996, our non-resident tourist industry has grown by 25%. And those tourists who visit Newfoundland each year deposit $240 million into our economy. When I hear statistics like these, I am optimistic about the future of our province, and that's why I'm also optimistic about the survival and growth of rural Newfoundland. The provincial government has a specific department which deals only with development and rural renewal, of which Mr. Beatontalk is the minister. And Beatontalk will be the first person to tell you we have not done enough. Yes, we are on the verge of a new economic revolution. Yes, the future is ours to secure. Yes, we ought to feel more confident about what is happening with our industries. And yes, investors feel more welcome in Newfoundland than ever before. But the recovery is still not complete. It was not totally balanced in all areas. The larger urban areas still tend to look after themselves in terms of being economic generators, whereas rural Newfoundland, which was so heavily dependent upon the fishing industry, needs more focused concentration and diversification. It won't be easy, and we still have some hurdles ahead of us. For example, in excess of 50% of the Newfoundland population are illiterate, which makes it extremely difficult to produce a skilled workforce and attract the technology-based industries of today. We still have the seal problem to solve and out-migration to reverse. But the challenges we do have should not become monumental impediments. We are not a society of whiners, but an innovative people, adaptable and hardworking. I was recently asked what my vision was, and basically I see a number of things which we had to do to make every area of our province economically viable and achieve an equal economic footing with the rest of Canada. Firstly, we must continue to develop the full potential of the fishery by taking advantage of emerging new species and market opportunities, and by adding more value to the harvest we capture. For example, in Newfoundland today, we fish approximately 38 species. In Japan, it's in excess of 300 species. We have not yet begun to realize what's in our sea, let alone take advantage of it. We must expand our agriculture industry, which is only in its infancy. We must find new markets and show innovation in our manufacturing sector, and develop new niches in small-scale manufacturing that will help our rural communities in particular. We must be aggressive in international markets to make the most of our opportunities and advance technology, telecommunications, and the information revolution. We must harness the wealth of our maturing oil industry for the benefit of our people. We must capitalize on the potential of Voisey's Bay and the Churchill River Hydro Project in a way that will benefit everyone over the long term. We must responsibly manage and make efficient use of our forest and agri-foods industries. We must continue to promote and develop our world-class tourism industry so that the many thousands of new visitors will want to return again and again. We seem to be on a more positive, achieving path for the past couple of years. The tremendous changes of the 80s, the disastrous economic circumstances of the 90s are behind us. Yes, there will continue to be disagreements within the province, and the public have a right to be vigilant against government to ensure that development is done properly, as witnessed by the recent debate over Gisborne Lake and the export of water. I've outlined where we were and where we came from, and talked about the positive happenings of the last 2 years, all of which I did to put into context where I think we're going. Once we realize the positive events of the last couple of years, we do have reason for hope. We do have reason for optimism. To speak specifically of Burgeo, we're on the verge of entering into a new type of fishing industry on the south coast. Yes, there will be trials and tribulations ahead concerning the crab industry, simply because there are so many competing interests and stakeholders involved in the industry. But we have the opportunity, and I feel certain the people of Burgeo will capitalize on this opportunity. The potential for diversification within the fishing industry, such as clams, sea urchins, mussels, shrimp, seaweed, have to be explored and developed. The tourism potential for the Burgeo area, with the sandbanks, boating tours, eco-adventure tours, once properly structured and marketed, are unlimited. Burgeo is also very fortunate to have recently acquired the services of Greg Yoder as your Economic Development Officer. I strongly believe that Greg will be one of the greatest benefits and assets this community has to offer, once he has a reasonable opportunity to learn the area and produce. I'm sure there will also be disagreements and differences of opinion within town, and so there should be. This is healthy. But one thing I do admire about Burgeo is that its citizens are very much like a large family. It's okay for anybody within the family to disagree and criticize, but dare anybody outside the family to criticize, because then you stick together. I feel confident the people of Burgeo will stick together and will do what is necessary and required for the survival and growth of this town. In closing, I'd like to read a little poem I came across from an unknown, optimistic poet. If you think you're beaten, you are. If you think that you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win but you think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you've lost, you'll lose, you've lost. For out in the world you will find Success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think that you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think I to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win the prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. Thank you.
Mayor Ann also spoke on behalf of the town. Continuing board members are Millie Dumford, John Krant, Calvin Eyre, Cyril Warren, and Gary Warren. Nominated for a 2-year term were Sam Collier, Gordon Ingram, and Brian Porter. There are still 2 openings for the BDD board. If you would like to become involved, or is there someone you would like to nominate, just contact the BDDB office and Mr. Greg Illier will be glad to help you. We spoke to the St. John's Central High Storms on Wednesday of this week to hear their tales about the provincial ball tournament.
So everybody agrees that although you lost, you played well.
At one point, you were leading in every game.
Yes, and up into the 4th or 5th inning of every game. By the 5th of every game, we were either down by 1 or up by 1. And after that, it fell apart.
So what happened, do you think?
We just got tired.
We didn't get
We didn't play in the 5th inning.
What's that?
They got a couple runs on us, and after that, we sort of got down on ourselves, and it was just like we let it fall apart.
I think Marie's the lack of experience. It was their very first provincial, and they weren't used to this and the kind of pressure, playing when things were getting tight and that. So next year, when we go to provincials, we'll be doing much better.
Oh, so is this the first team that you've had in the school that have went to regionals and provincials?
The boys team went a long time ago, 1990, I believe.
No, but that wasn't they hosted it, wasn't it?
No, they hosted it before, but they went to, remember they went to Marystown once? But it was a long time, and this is the first time ever for the girls.
Okay.
First time we've ever had a girls team at provincials.
So we already reported that you did very, very well at the regionals.
Yes.
We were undefeated. Woo! No, we won by a lot.
Yeah.
So what do you think that was then in the regionals?
Well,
You did so well.
We had a really good day.
We were pumped, and we just wanted to prove our fellows around.
We weren't expecting anything. We weren't expecting to win it.
We were excited to get there and go there. And we were just
Okay.
playing for fun. Nobody cared. Nobody home expected us to do it.
After first game, we played like the toughest team there, and we had beat them, so we were like confident.
After we done really good after that because we know we beat somebody.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
we won't get down.
So all of you played with the women's team during the summer?
No.
I did.
That sounded like all of you. Who didn't
This is
play?
my first time playing.
Okay. And you started practicing in September?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
2 weeks for
Yeah, we had 3 or 4 practices before we did.
That was
Okay.
Yeah, except for Denise, we were all on
So you're all going to stick with the team next year?
Except for Denise and Jill and
Okay.
Jennifer will be graduating. We don't want them back here.
I agree.
I understand that you had some very rough weather.
Yeah. Hailstones and like
140 millimeters of wind.
Yeah.
And you were playing ball?
Yeah, we said stop because poor Winger was able to go around the field.
Well, Ingrid wasn't going around the field, but everything else was.
One of the games took 3 hours to play, Mrs. Payne?
It started at 9 and finished at 12:30.
We were playing
41 watts. We weren't playing that game. We were waiting in the
41
ice
watts.
in the game, and we were waiting in the ice pellets, waiting for our turn to play.
So it was not the weather that restricts the game out, but the game itself?
And the weather, because they had to keep getting delays to come in after while
And
glitter storm would come in, kids would come out the field, glitter would go away, and they'd go back out.
And a lot of the watts was because of the weather, because the ball was just blowing around. And
Yes, it was terrible.
Very difficult weekend.
Worst conditions I'd ever seen ball games played under. It's fair to say.
We also understand that the gentleman that graciously volunteered to take you to the ball field had a misfortune.
The bus broke down.
The bus broke
And
down.
we didn't know, we didn't have a clue, and we were
waiting
for the bus, and we didn't know.
Freezing cold.
We had to drive a couple of us had to drive like 15 minutes in a Panda truck.
Like freezing black
And Miss Pink hitchhiked, Miss Abby hitchhiked the ride with somebody.
We were like sitting on a bridge just waiting for it. We were sitting there waiting, and it didn't show up.
They- And the bus is still in Marystown.
Um,
And the guy who gave us a ride up, the first guy who gave us a ride up lost his gas tank. I think it's gracious he jinx. Can't be me. I'm not here this most times. and you know, it was really real bad start the second day, right? You know, so then that first game on Saturday morning when it was like the weather was halfway cooperative, everything else fell apart. So they were playing under very trying circumstances and did pretty well. Until we got our sexy baby going.
So you expect to take a team to the regionals next year?
Oh, to the regionals definitely. With any luck, we're going to the provincials.
No, we're going to the provincials and we're going to win
I
next
think we're going to have a better showing next year. I think so.
So if anyone wanted to try out for the staff ball
We
team,
really need people to try it.
Yeah, we only have 10 people.
so what will you be doing? Will you be doing it this year? Is it all over for this year or?
This year.
Yeah?
You should start playing like the spring again.
Okay.
Yeah, we really do need people to play because we only had 10 people play this year. And since there's like 3 people leaving, we need at least 3 more people or we won't be able to have a team.
Okay. So how many is on a team normally?
Most teams carry 12, 14 players, right?
So you
We only
just
had 10.
We only had 10.
so you just had the minimum.
Yeah, and we had to get special permission because if we'd gotten one person, we wouldn't have had enough people to finish the game unless we had the special permission of everybody playing, and they
Okay.
gave us permission. So if we had an injury, we could have finished the game with 9 players. But that's not the way to go to provincials. You need more than that. So.
Well, thanks very much for talking with us, and we hope you do better next year at the provincials.
Thank you, and we will do better. Okay.
Stay tuned for more of This Week in Review coming up after this.
Many Canadians are wondering if they will be personally affected by the Y2K problem. For this reason, the Government of Canada has made it a top priority to ensure that pensioners and people who are temporarily out of work continue to receive their income benefits. At Human Resources Development Canada, we upgraded our payment systems well ahead of time and prepared emergency plans to ensure that there will be no interruption in service should unexpected problems arise. Our payment systems are ready.
Residents are advised that the boil order is still in effect for the town's water system. Starting this morning at Sunday, October the 24th at 8 a.m. until tomorrow, Monday, October 25th at 8 p.m., Council has shut down the chlorine system to carry out necessary testing on the water system. There will be no loss of water during this period. It is anticipated the boil order will be lifted at the end of the week by October 29th. A further update will be issued on the Community Channel 10. Council apologizes for any inconvenience. Now over to Mayor Ann with the Council report.
Good evening. Council held its regular meeting on Wednesday, October the 20th, 1999. 5 members in attendance. Items for discussion. The ongoing story of the Calder Health Care Centre regarding taxation. It has finally came down to that the lawyers from the Department of Health, Municipal Affairs, Work Services and Transportation, and the Department of Justice will be meeting next Tuesday, October the 26th, to discuss this issue and come down with a ruling on whether the Calder Health Care Centre is liable for taxation or not. Depending on what their decision is, will dictate where we go from there. Another item which took up quite a bit of discussion was the town water system. As you know, for some time now we've had a boil order on, and we've had certain people come in and check the water line as best they could, and some is saying that there's dirt in the line, and there's a whole range of problems which may or may not be in our water system. However, Council is trying to deal with each one, and one of the suggestions that have been made to us is that our line needs to be what they call pigged. That is, you put a certain piece of equipment in the line at the dam, and you run it right through the water line to town, to clean the water line. However, there's no certainty if that is needed or not, and to get this done, we're talking probably $30,000 to $35,000. Therefore, council have now flushed their line. They're getting it back on stream with the chlorine and so on. However, we're going to put a test on our water line and have some water samples taken and carried into the Department of Health for testing without chlorination. We need tests done without chlorination. So I want to impress upon you, even though this is being carried on Burgeo Broadcasting anyway, that beginning on Sunday morning at 8 a.m., our chlorination plant will be completely shut down. That's from 8 a.m. Sunday morning until 8 p.m. Monday evening, October the 25th. There will be a boil order in effect for that period, and this is not a precautionary boil order. I just want to impress upon you that you really should boil your water even longer than that. And if possible, probably get bottled water or go into Beaver Pond and get your water. But this test is being done to just see what the status of our water line is as far as bacteria being put into the water from the line itself. So therefore, we're doing testing. There's several things we're looking at in trying to improve the water system in Burgeo. So we're just asking you to bear with us. We've really got to do it at the present time because pretty soon we'll be getting into winter temperatures, and as everyone knows, that your water usually improves during the cold weather. So the boil order which you see being advertised on Burgeo Broadcasting, you should really pay attention to it during this period. Criteria for the Calder Scholarship. This scholarship is given each year, and there was really no definitive criteria written down as to which way the scholarship should be awarded. However, a draft of criteria for the issuance of that scholarship have been approved by town, and we will be using those draft regulations this year and see how well they work, and based on this year will dictate whether we need to amend them or not. So there is now criteria set up for the issuance of the Calder Scholarship. Recreation complex. Deputy Mayor Barter advised us that work has progressed well from the town's point of view, and the town has practically got their plans in order. However, the hold up is on the school. Apparently the square footage for the new school is not acceptable to the school council and a number of people from Burgeo. A new school has been built in Buckens, and the school that's in Buckens is really just a copy of the school that will be built at Burgeo. Some people from Burgeo, from the teaching staff and so on, went to Buckens, and apparently the people in Buckens are not satisfied with the school, and the people from Burgeo also feel that the school would not be satisfactory for Burgeo. So there's some more work going ahead there, but I would like to pass along to you that the school is not held up. The construction of the new school is not held up because of the town council's plans for a recreation complex, and neither will the construction of the school be held up as a result of our efforts to incorporate something to provide some recreation facilities for Burgeo. So that's where that stands right now. Our work is done. We're ready to present it to the provincial federal government's council is ready probably to take a vote on it, and also to bring it to the people of Burgeo. But at the present time, we've got to hold off until such time as the school, the plans for the school is finalized. The remainder of the meeting was really routine business. However, as usual, the fish plant came up, and it appears as if everything is in order for the plant to go ahead. A union agreement has been reached, and when the boats start landing, of course, is depending on weather conditions. And I'm of the understanding that, as I'm talking to you right now, that 6 or 7 boats have sailed. However, more encouraging news is that tomorrow, and this will be old news by the time you hear me, but tomorrow, October the 22nd, there will be a load of crab being trucked to Burgeo, 20 or 30,000 pounds, and that will get the people back to work for the first time. And as your mayor, I'm very excited about that. I would really like to commend the executive of the union, the membership, and the company for reaching a working agreement. And I do feel that working together, company and union, that there is a bright future ahead for our fish plant. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow to see that first crab, and I'm sure the people are quite anxious to get back to work. So that's it for this evening. Thank you.
Stay with us for Off the Rack, community events, and the BBS Playbill, all after this.
Participation. Finding solutions. Getting active is easy. Canada's Physical Activity Guide shows just how easy it is. Larry chooses to play volleyball with neighbors. They're having fun. They're also enjoying the benefits of physical activity.
Well, it's just unbelievable fun. I hope you have a great time.
Larry's solution is a participation solution. Try it.
Off the Rack. Last week on Off the Rack, we showed you a snowstorm that we experienced in February 1996. This week, as we scanned our tape rack, we came across a tape of a heavy rainfall on the Burgeo Road in the Peter Strides area. Let's look back again to February 1996.
Heavy rainfall caused problems on the Burgeo Road this weekend. Saturday night, unusually large amounts of rain caused washouts in several areas along the Burgeo Road between Burgeo and Peter Strides. The closest one to Burgeo is here, just past Searbrook, near Marsden's cabin. As you can see, the water was running across the road, and the side of the road has been washed out. A little further in the road, Woodentel Brook is rifted. As you can see, a large amount of water is flowing through the culvert in the road. And a lot of ice as rifted on the other side of the road. If you were traveling in the Buck Lake area earlier this morning, chances are you had to drive through water. As you can see, there's still some slush remaining on the highway in that area, but there is no longer water running on the road. The shoulder of the road in this area also started to wash away. In the Buck Lake area, you can see there's quite an amount of water on the lake itself, and there are a lot of ice pans along the side of the road, as in other areas between Burgeo and Peter Strides. Also, the water levels in the Burnt Pond area are far higher than normal. Anyone who knows this area knows that this area of water is usually considerably smaller than it is here today. As you can see, there's a lot of water running through under the bridge. And there's
quite an amount of water coming through the other side. Burnt Pond today looks more like a raging river than a brook. Just in past the turn, past the Burnt Pond Bridge, there's evidence that the water was running across the road in this area as well. As you can see by the ice on the trees, the water was up considerably further than it is right now. And again, there's a lot of icebergs, so to speak, on the sides of the road. A mile outside of Peter Strides Bridge, near the Peter Strides Trailer Association Site B, water was running across the road earlier today, but the water levels have gone down significantly in this area as well. A large pan of ice at this culvert blocked off earlier this morning, which caused a buildup of water which eventually ran across the road, washing out a section of the shoulder of the road in this area as well. Also, the campers that camp on the far side of the brook away from the road are going to have to get some road work done before they can get to their trailers this spring, because the high waters have washed out the road leading to that site. This area of the brook right here is normally crossable by jumping rocks in the summertime, but as you can see, you can probably cross it now by jumping ice pans.
Good evening and welcome to the community events segment of tonight's broadcast. I'm Jennifer Marks. Capture the memories of your child's school years with school pictures. Individual, class, and graduation pictures will be taken on Wednesday, November 3rd and Thursday, November 4th. Envelopes have been sent home with price and other information. Don't forget that Monday, November 1st is the next scheduled meeting for the St. John Central High School Council. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns on the size of the K-12 school that the government has proposed for us, the strength of our school and its growth, young drivers of Canada, staffing and budgets, or fundraising and fundraising ideas, please contact the school council or drop by the meeting on Monday, November 1st and express your concerns. The winner of the Lions TV Bingo held on Wednesday, October 20th was Edith Marsden. Congratulations, Edith. All you TV bingo lovers will have to wait until Wednesday, November 24th for the next scheduled TV bingo. For groups and organizations that are looking for a great fundraiser, TV bingo might just be what you're looking for. If you are interested in booking TV bingo, we still have a lot of openings available. Just give Marie a call at 886-2935 and we will be happy to help you. Book your TV bingo today to raise money for your group and provide a little entertainment for the bingo lovers at the same time. If your group or organization has an upcoming event plan, we will be happy to broadcast it for you. Just call the BBS office by Wednesday of each week to have items included in this portion of our broadcast. That concludes the community event segment of this week's broadcast. See you next week.
BBS Playbill. Join us on Monday at 7 p.m. for a video from the Jehovah's Witness called The Bible, a Book of Fact and Prophecy. Its Power in Your Life. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for a rebroadcast of Pansy's Garden. On Wednesday, we will have a video entitled Big Three in Newfoundland. Tune in on Thursday when we'll have a rebroadcast of the entertainment from the Sand and Sea Festival with the Fogo Island Accordion Group. Join Pansy and the gang for 2 stories, a craft, and lots of fun on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on Pansy's Garden. Next Sunday at 6:30 p.m. we will have religious revelations from the United Church. And I'll be here again next week with This Week in Review. Next week's program will be followed by entertainment from the Sand and Sea Festival. Please stay tuned now for the Fogo Island Accordion Group. For This Week in Review, I'm Marie Rose. Good night.